Hey, it's me, MarkyJoe, here to entertain you. Yes, it is my show. It exists. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Yeah. Okay, so last video I showed you guys my live reactions. In this video, you're going to see the winning run. You're not going to see it live. This is all going to be post-production commentary. And the reason why is because my live commentary wasn't going to be interesting. Trust me. Most of the submission is just playing it well and winning. That's literally it. There's very few bells and whistles, and aside from maybe one dick move that you guys didn't see in the first video, you didn't miss much. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to start commentating over this and telling my strategy. Click. Okay, so these first few turns are probably the most important in the entire chapter. You have to get to Inez as quick as possible, because once you do that, you get access to the next set of enemies, which are much stronger than the first row of red units. Well, NPC units that you get. So, in order to do this, I went and rescued Erika with Vanessa and had her just bolt straight forward. You need that NPC fighter there to block off that soldier, because otherwise your path just gets fucking cock-blocked by it. So here, I'm going to place another fighter. It's going to block those three soldiers. I'm also going to take Vanessa, bring her up north further, and drop Erika so that by the next turn she should be able to recruit Inez. Now, this soldier right here is meant to block that stairway. As I learned, yes, you can block stairways in FE8. You can make it so that it doesn't work. As you can see, when you summon NPCs in the bottom left, they'll still come out, and I think that's because Pwntagonist actually programmed it to do that. Like, he did it with the events. So as you can see here, I got really lucky. Inez showed up in the exact right spot I wanted him to be in, and this is the recruitment cutscene. Man, this fucker does not have any faith in Erika. But then again, Erika did kind of do something rather stupid in FE8 near the end, so I don't know. It's just one mistake, but throughout the rest of the game, she does kind of show that she is a competent leader and shit. It's just that one fucking time colored everybody's opinion of her. It made her, now everybody thinks she's a fucking stupid head. So anyway, because Inez is right there, I figured I'd get Tana. Holy shit. Basically, these first few turns could not have turned out any better. And I like this bit of dialogue here. Tana in FE8, I think some people kind of see her as a ditz, but if you look at some of her supports kind of more deeply, especially the one where she talks to Cormag, she actually has quite the spine. She is one decisive bitch. Also, one very attractive lady, might I say. God, that ponytail is so fucking thick. How does she have so much hair? I don't know. Anyway, so our next concern is essentially to recruit Rennick, who will be showing up in a couple turns. So we want to get straight to that treasure chest that's like just left of Erika, because that's directly where Rennick is heading. And since we recruited Inez, this means we get access to these new enemies, these new classes, and basically the archers. I didn't even bother to use them once. Like, I immediately knew off the bat just by their stats that they weren't worth using. However, the Myrmidons come with killing edges. They have a shitload of speed, which means that they have a pretty good chance of killing any enemy unit that comes their way. At least for now. The enemies eventually get strong enough that it becomes kind of useless. But for now, you see, that guy just fucking wiped out 2 soldiers. And that greatly increases your firepower. Like, most of the other enemies you have are just not strong enough to make this shit work. Now, the other really useful class, obviously because the archers suck, is the knights. And basically, the knights are essential for this submission because they're really good at, one, playing as decoys for the enemy. Like, they create diversions and shit, and they're hard to kill. And they're really good at cock-blocking the enemy from reaching us. Without them, shit, this would be so much harder. So it's worth noting that Erika can only survive one blow from a single soldier. It fucking sucks. And a lot of the submission is essentially, I want to move Erika places, but keep her guarded at all times. I actually really like this idea, because I've always kind of preferred it when the lords were not very good units, so that they were actually, like, something you had to protect, essentially, and every now and then they contribute something. I know that's a weird thing to want, but I don't know, it adds like an extra layer of challenge in my opinion. The other thing is that I also feel like it makes sense, because lords are usually leaders in Fire Emblem. They're diplomats. They're not necessarily like fighting types, and they're usually like these idealistic, you know, let's unite under a cause type of person, and that's just not the kind of person I picture being a fighter, you know? So anyway, Rennick has finally showed up in one of my older attempts that you guys won't see. Basically, there was a whole attempt where I was just scouting the submission, figuring everything out, and using a shitload of save states so that I could just figure out exactly how to handle each situation. In that attempt, it was such a fucking struggle to get to Rennick, but because, as you guys saw, I started this submission off on the right foot, I have so much momentum now that I'm like way before Rennick actually gets to that chest. Like, I have so much time to spare now. Now, like, similar to Inae's, you have to recruit Rennick with Erika. There's not much to say here, unfortunately. Rennick's a pretty good fighting unit, mainly because he has high defense and high speed. His attack power is not all that impressive, but he could get a few kills here and there. You might notice that there are points where I'm just kind of trying to figure shit out. Oh, and Erika got a kill there. Nice little free kill. There are points where I hesitate to make a move, and it's because this is not like a tool-assisted speedrun. I actually managed to beat this submission in a single run without the use of save states. I did use rewinds just to undo, like, some minor mistake I did, like I made this character wait instead of using an item or whatever. You know, just small things like that. Also, another really important factor to gaining momentum in the submission is you definitely want to block these stairways up here, because reinforcements come out of them, specifically shamans, and shamans are a fucking nightmare to deal with. Now, the 3 stairways that I'm ultimately going to block in this submission turn out to be the only ones I really desperately needed to block, because aside from those, most of the enemies are pretty limited in, like, where they reinforce from. Oh, that fighter, he poorly died. So, after you recruit Rennick, the game pulls this really fucking enormous dick move, and also, just to fucking slap me in the face, that NPC Myrmidon fucking attacked Rennick and knocked him down to like half his health, which I was a little upset by. But anyway, this is Rennick. I don't know why the fuck he's here, but I think in the ending of FEA, he did kind of go back to being a thief. It's kind of interesting, because like, Rennick has this kind of like image of himself that he wants to depict, that like he's a good servant, and, you know, he's obedient and shit. But on the other hand, he totally does not like any of that shit and just seems to want to just be a thief and collect riches and shit. So it's kind of interesting, like, because I can't imagine anybody who would actually enjoy being a thief, but actually, you know what, I think I can. But it's such an interesting, like, conflict of character that Rennick has, where he has to balance his desire to pursue what he truly enjoys doing and balance that with, like, his outward image. Oh yeah, and inside that chest is an Elysia Whip, and obviously we're going to promote Tana into a Wyvern Knight, because if you promote her into a Falcon Knight, then what the fuck is wrong with you? Yes, Falcon Knights have access to swords, which are lighter and easier to use for Pegasus Riders, but Wyvern Knights just have so much better stats, and they gain more constitution than Falcon Riders, which kind of mitigates the problem of, like, using heavy weapons in the first place. Plus, Tana is so insanely fast in this submission that she can pretty much use her weapons without fear of not being able to double shit. So by recruiting Rennick, we now get access to Shamans, Brigands, and Pegasus Riders. And I'm gonna just tell you straight up, the only one that's really of worth is the Shamans. I tried to use the Brigands. The Brigands have impressive stats, but the thing is that they have such low accuracy that you can't really depend on them for killing shit. And for that matter, Shamans are not very dependable either, because sometimes they fail to kill shit. And as you can see right there, they attacked the red shaman in the window. And this is a fucking dick move. Like, holy shit. Just, yeah, let's put Erika in the middle of all this shit. But anyway, you're going to see how I get myself out of this scrape. It's actually really interesting. Aside from the trial and error nature of this, I actually really like this setup here. But anyway, Shamans they can attack from a distance, so that means they can safely damage it. They deal a lot of damage. They're not exactly dependable because their accuracy is not that great, but it's rarely an issue compared to the Brigands, and plus, Brigands don't have 1-2 range. And Shamans are fast enough that they generally won't get doubled by things, so they can actually last a long time against enemies, so it's just better to use them over any other class, to be honest. So this thief right here was a fucking nightmare. So obviously I got Rennick, and that takes care of one thief problem. But this other thief is kind of an issue because he's going after a chest that's actually heavily guarded. There are a lot of enemies over there, and you just have to really fucking, like, keep that chest guarded for a while to earn your reward of a Heaven Seal, which allows you to promote Erika. More on that later. So yeah, basically I had to create a wall around Erika in order to get her out of this scrape. Because I managed to get to this point early enough, like where where Reeve teleports you and shit, which he does, I think, 1 turn or 2 turns after you recruit Rennick. It's not like a turn-based thing, it's like based on the time you recruited Rennick. Because I got to that point early, there's a certain reinforcement pattern that I'm going to be able to bypass because Erika managed to get to this point so quickly. Because there's supposed to be like enemies that come out of the stairway that's just east of her, like right there. And I believe what comes out of it are soldiers with silver lances, which pretty much kill Erika in 1 hit. But because I got there early, she can actually safely escape this area without too much trouble. Now, you might have also noticed that Cormag is on this map as well. Cormag, unfortunately, I tried every single character. You simply cannot recruit him. Which is a shame because he has the Vidafner, which is... he basically kills shit in 1 hit. So basically, what's going to happen with Cormag is that he's going to run into a few enemies, kill a few of them, and then just die. And that's it. He doesn't even get any dialogue. Like, when he dies, he just has 3 ellipses. So it just kind of makes me wonder, like, oh, is Cormag, like, one of the corpses? Because that's the plot of this story, is that Reeve has this ability that he learned where he can summon corpses from the dead and fight for him. And... so, the theory that I have is that Cormag, because he has no dialogue and he can't talk to anybody, is that he is actually one of the corpses. So, it's just a little bit of theory fuel, I guess. You know, nothing special. Whatever. Alright, so, as you can see, these shamans are putting up quite a fight, and I also put a knight here to cock-block that fucking thief from reaching that chest. And because the thief has, like, some kind of obsessive-compulsive thing, he just opens the door from the other side. Which I totally didn't get, but he couldn't reach it before. That's the thing. That's the weird thing about Thief AI in this game is that you can set it to want to open chests and doors, and that basically what it'll do is it'll look for any doors or chests that it can reach and open it. So, like, even if it's like a bad idea, they'll just do it anyway, just because they have that compulsion to do it. But that actually makes things convenient because now Tana can safely reach him, either with a javelin, as you see here, or otherwise. Though that does open up more enemies to attack her. Now this part of the chapter is kind of really devious because, yes, I have all these strong enemies here, well, strong units to use, but the enemies are starting to become even, like, too strong for even these guys to handle. So the next goal, as you saw in the previous video, is that you want to kill Glenn so that you have access to the final set of enemies. And in my opinion, that is like the moment in the submission where you truly feel empowered. Like, I remember I said in the previous video that, oh, this submission, I don't really feel in control of the situation, yada, yada, yada. This is the point where it actually starts to subvert that, and you start to genuinely feel like you finally gained control of the situation. So it's kind of like the game makes you feel helpless at first, and then as you get momentum, you finally get that, like, emotional payoff where, oh, yes, finally, I'm fucking powerful as shit now. I guess I should probably touch upon what I think of the submission while we're at it. I actually think this is probably one of the best Ragefest submissions I have played. Obviously, it's not impressive in terms of cutscenes. Oh, and he's gonna summon Glenn. It's not impressive in terms of cutscenes, but it's clear that Pwntagonist put the focus on the gameplay instead. The enemies are very carefully placed, and a lot of each turn is very carefully planned in order to make this a consistently interesting experience, a consistently thought-provoking one. There were several turns where I was like, oh god, what the fuck do I do here? I don't know. And then I managed to find a way out of it using my creativity. And that's something that I really enjoy about this submission, is that, like, because of its brand new idea of summoning enemies to fight for you, you get to look at these, like, everything in this map from an unconventional perspective. And it really gets you to, like, really appreciate NPC units and, like, the AI of the game a lot more. So it's a really good submission. It's a great idea, executed well. The only thing is that I feel like the learning curve is very steep, and that is something I don't really like. Like, there were a lot of attempts before my winning attempt where I was getting fucking furious because I felt like I had no control, and I felt like the submission kind of demanded you to do everything perfectly. Like, I was basically projecting a lot of the problems of Pwntagonist's previous submission on this one. And luckily, Pwntagonist came up to me and said, like, look, I think you're just letting your emotions cloud your judgment, and it turned out he was right. And that's another lesson that we gotta learn from this, is that, and this is a very important lesson, and this is the main reason why I think it's so important that people can now play these Ragefest submissions after I play them, is that people can play and develop their own opinions, because I'm not always right. There are times where I let my feelings cloud my judgment, and I end up giving a biased point of view that, like, doesn't accurately represent the submissions. And that's why I think it's so important that people can now play the submissions now. Speaking of which, by the time this video is up, you guys can play it yourself. So why don't you go do that? So you might have noticed that there are now some rangers on the map. These rangers are a fucking nightmare, and this is the point where the submission gets really tough. I mean, okay, I will say that the submission, like, once you know what you're doing, it's not that hard except for the beginning. But this is the other point where it's really tough. And this is why the knights are so useful, because basically I'm creating a diversion for them to buy me some time so that I have enough time to kill Glenn and then finally get access to the super units that will be able to wipe these motherfuckers off the face of the earth. Holy shit, these guys are strong as balls. Like, the knights chop off like half the health of those rangers, whereas most of my other units only take off like a fourth. It's fucking pathetic. So as you can see, there's a lot of knights and Pegasus riders coming after me. It's worth noting that Pwntagonist knows that Pegasus riders are terrible at combat, so in order to compensate for this, they all have killer lances, including the ones that you summon. And honestly, it's still not worth it. It's totally not worth it. Just get the shamans. It's just the better choice. Pegasus riders are not meant to fight, dude. Their constitution and strength is just so bad. Mainly their constitution. Actually, you know what? Their strength is not bad. It's their defense and their low HP that really makes them so bad at combat. Because you can't really risk putting them out there to fight shit. But anyway, I put some shamans and knights here. Again, to buy some time, and also so that I have a chance to smack Glenn with the iron bow from Inez. Now, this was a really tough decision, because I have a ranger right there, and he's going to attack somebody that he knows he's going to kill. And Erika's not too far off, and if I give him a chance to get close, that means that the next turn he's going to go straight for Erika, and I really don't want that. So, Inez, I really want him to kill this boss, and at this point, I'm willing to put his life on the line, possibly sacrifice his life in order to get this done. Because once I gain the momentum, everything's gonna completely fucking flip around. Luckily, right there, as you saw, Inez managed to dodge that shit like a fucking champ! Holy fucking shit, Inez! You're fucking awesome! And, this is really where things start to turn around, in my opinion. Because by the next turn, I'm gonna have Glenn dead, and that's when I'm gonna be able to really fire off the fucking the brute forces. So those knights, it's really interesting how I use the knights to basically wall off that one ranger just so that he can't reach Erika. But it's so fucking important because really it's the fact that these guys have such high speed and high movement that makes them so dangerous. Because being able to double basically means you're gonna deal a lot of damage, even if your strength is low. And that makes it really fucking scary. I was really scared that Erika would die there just now because, as I said before, killer lances are on all the Pegasus riders. Alright, so this is the point of the chapter where I'm faced with a really tough decision. I need to figure out how to deal with these rangers and how to deal with Glenn at the same time. So I end up making a very, really scary decision. Ultimately, it wasn't that bad, I guess. But because I'm so worried that they're gonna attack somebody valuable or kill Erika, I actually go and put Vanessa out there just as a safe thing. But as it turns out, I think what happens is that if I had just summoned my new dudes first or something, I wouldn't have had to sacrifice Vanessa. Oh, you know what? I think the reason why I wanted to do something about these rangers is because Tana is a really good combat unit, and I really didn't want to lose her to these rangers. Alright, now in hindsight, now that I'm looking at this, I think there really was nothing else I could do. But I guess we'll have to see, because I don't remember exactly how I handled this part, but here we go. So there's the knight. Check this shit out. So I think what I should have done there is I should have warped Marissa first, then had her summon a dude. But there you go. So, yeah, I put the knight right there, well, the general. These generals are fucking bosses, but I'd argue that the heroes are probably the best out of the three. Either that or the sage. The sages they hit like fucking trucks, man. Yeah, so now, yeah, oh, fuck. Yeah, okay, so yeah, Tana would have been in danger no matter what, so it was definitely a good call for me to put Vanessa there. So never mind. Whew! There we go. Oh, wait, they're gonna attack her anyway. Or not. Oh, okay. Huh. I wonder if they would have attacked that shaman anyway. I don't know for sure now. Maybe one of them would attack the shaman and the other one would have attacked Tana. And I think Tana would have survived that. But either way, doesn't matter. It's sad to say, but Tana will not see the light of day. Alright, so now that I have the final set of enemies, this is pretty much the point where the chapter completely turns around and I start to really fucking bulldoze this shit, like, hardcore. Because now, like, each time you open a new door, you get a new unit, and that means more opportunities to summon things and bring them over to this side. And as you can see here, I just fucking whip these dudes out, and as I said before, the generals deal, like, half the fucking health of these rangers, and it's fucking brutal. And these sages take off, like, 3/4 of their health. It's, like, almost unfair. It's fucking amazing. So yeah, the shaman, the NPC shaman down here, I never actually teleport him anywhere, so he ends up just staying in the exact spot he is now, which is hilarious because he keeps attacking the enemy shaman that's, like, right above him for no reason. And it's especially funny because the enemy shaman that he fights attacks him back, and he keeps getting weakened. So, like, even if I wanted to send him off to combat, he would have been weakened and probably wouldn't have gotten much done. You might have noticed that there are now zombie dragons. Now, remember those diversion strategies I talked about earlier where I put the knights in the range of those rangers to pretty much get them away from the rest of my units? I'm going to be doing that again, except with the heroes, generals, and sages. And this buys me just enough time for me to beat the fucking shit out of Reeve. Alright, so I think I've run out of shit to say about this submission. I guess what I'll talk about next is that, this submission is only one chapter long. I think that was kind of obvious at this point. And it really does go to show you that even if you only have one chapter in your submission, you can still make a high-quality submission. I feel like some people feel like because there's a 3-chapter rule in Ragefest that they have to make 3 chapters because bigger is better, in theory at least. But the issue is that you end up spreading yourself thin if you don't have, like, the work ethic and the creative chops to, like, really pull it off. sorry, not the creative chops. I'd say that a lot of people in this contest have been pretty creative. I think the issue, however, is that some people don't have like that level of perfectionism or level of dependability to really make their submission shine like it's supposed to. So when you make 3 chapters, you end up holding yourself back as a result. I recall a lot of people in this contest, they didn't get enough playtesting, and they ended up rushing near the end of the, when the deadline got closer. And as a result, I think their submissions ended up suffering as a result. So I'm actually thinking about having like a new rule in Ragefest, like if Ragefest 6 ever happens. Oh, I got a Heaven Seal, which I can use to promote Erika. I might have a rule where, like, the first 2 months you have to finish your submission, and then the last month you have to like polish it. I'm still ironing out the details, obviously, but I feel like there should be a bit more quality control in mind. So, like, when you finish the submission on the first 2 months, like, I'll have, like, playtesters that I specifically hire to give you feedback on your submission so that you can make a better submission overall, you know? So, that Heaven Seal. Let's talk about that for a second. Erika's promotion gains kind of fucking suck. I was hoping, actually, that by getting that... I was hoping that Pwntagonist actually changed the promotion gains for the classes, so that way, like, Erika would turn from, like, this really super weak fighter, like the second weakest in the entire game, into, like, one of the strongest. I think that would have been really cool, but unfortunately, Pwntagonist did not take advantage of that opportunity. However, it does give Erika that extra, like, several points of movement. Like, I think it's 2 points of movement. And believe it or not, that actually does become essential near the end of the chapter. That actually becomes, like, a thing that becomes relevant. So I'm actually kind of glad I promoted Erika, even if it ended up not being, like, meaningful other than one instance. So, remember in the previous video where I showed off the heroes and was like, oh wow, these guys are probably too strong for me to handle, and they're going to prevent me from blocking those reinforcement points. At this point, I have units that are so fucking strong that these heroes don't stand a goddamn chance. However, it is worth noting that Pwntagonist, the clever bastard he is, he actually gave them elixirs, so they will actually last a while against you. They're kind of like... I'd argue that they're kind of like the bosses of the chapter, like the true bosses. Because, yeah, Reeve is there, and he's pretty strong, and it takes a couple dudes to take him out. But honestly, these heroes that I use can double him. So it's honestly not even, like, it's not really even a fucking battle with them. And plus, Reeve doesn't move, so he can't take advantage of his extra range like these heroes can. One of them has a tomahawk. I don't know what the other one has, but I'm pretty sure it's just another tomahawk. I don't know, but... Oh shit! Reeve, what the fuck? He's talking about the technology that he's been using where he summons the corpses. I don't know how we gained access to his like books and technology so that we could do it ourselves, but this submission's pretty light on story, and honestly, it was clearly not the focus, and I don't mind that. So, you know, it's not a big deal, whatever. So this last part of the submission, you might have noticed that, for the most part, I've only used units that, like, remember how in the tutorial, if you visit the bottom houses, you'll get NPCs that will charge after enemies, and if you go to the top one, they will stand in place. For the most part, you almost never need the stationary units. It's actually quite detrimental because once you have a unit serve their job as like a blockade at some point or another, they're going to be doing nothing if they don't move around. If they're not set to move around, rather. So honestly, like, in terms of long-term implications, it's much better to have the moving NPCs rather than the stationary ones. Let's see, what else is there? Now, the reason why I bring that up is because in this last part, it actually becomes more useful to have stationary enemies, because something I realized is that these NPCs will not prefer to attack Reeve. They'll instead attack other enemies. And I didn't want that, so what I ended up doing is that I basically put a whole bunch of stationary heroes adjacent to Reeve to ensure that he would get his shit fucking molested. God, Reeve just took it in the But, holy shit, dude. I was there. I saw. It wasn't pretty. Holy shit. I've never seen an old man get fucking plowed so hard. And he's not even that good looking. I didn't think they would be so enthusiastic about it. So yeah, I do have that one moving sage. Like, he's set to move. And I figured, oh, if I just make it so that Reeve is the only one in his range, he'll just attack him. And I think that does happen, but guess what? Bam! Reeve has a fucking elixir! Pwntagonist, you fucking asshole! Fuck! God damn it! But it turns out to not be a big deal because I still have plenty of time to fucking just... Oh! Right in the patootie. Also, I like how the sages have blue hair. It's fucking sexy as shit. I wish I had blue hair. Man, I would do so many cool things with it. I'd probably get all the girls because, you know, the nerdy anime-loving otaku girls dig anime hair, as we all know. I don't know for sure. It's probably just a case-by-case thing. And either way, my point stands is that chicks dig anime hair. Kind of. All right, anyway. So Reeve does his little thinking thing here, and now I'm pretty much set to finish this motherfucker off. So hey, why not just surround him completely with all these dudes? Like, man, this is getting really dangerous. Like, they're all surrounding him. They got their dicks out. It's just not a pretty sight, man. And he's on a throne, so he's gonna like be bent over on the seat. I don't know why I'm continuing this fucking gangbang joke. It's so immature. I'm just saying. Anyway. So there were some opportunities where I could have had one of my ally units fight him, but I kind of just decided against it simply because they're not very strong, and these NPCs are just fucking god tier. Like, these guys are fucking, like, Garrick tier in terms of, like, crazy awesomeness. Like, look at that shit. The dude, like, bear in mind, Reeve is on a throne. So, like, his dodge rate is pretty high, his resistance is high, his defense is high. So the fact that these heroes can deal so much damage to him is actually really impressive. That gives you an idea of how strong they are. And there we go. Reeve is dead. He doesn't get a death quote, which I thought was rather anticlimactic. And remember when I said earlier that promoting Erika actually became relevant? Well, guess what? This is where it became relevant. Right there. I had just enough move to reach that throne. So anyway, this is interesting. So Erika decides to burn down this castle, which I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And then Rennick's like, whoa, dude, but what about all these resources that we could use? Think of the potential. And Erika's like, yeah, that's the exact problem. They can be misused. Which I actually think is a very smart decision. We wouldn't want that shit to get out of hand, you know? We wouldn't want, like, corpse butlers and shit. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you, Pwntagonist, for making this submission. You did a great job. I wish the learning curve was better. But aside from that, oh, also some of the trial and error bullshit I didn't like. But aside from that, this gets 2 thumbs up from me. So, congratulations. I definitely think this will be a candidate for the Strategist Award. Also, for the Innovation Award. So, get hype. Do you want to play Pwntagonist submission for yourself? Don't worry, I got you covered. Go to MarkyJoe.com, head to the download section, head to Ragefest 5, and then you can play it yourself and develop your own opinion instead of watching my fucking footage. After you're done playing it, feel free to leave a comment telling me your personal experience. Anyway, I'm gonna skedaddle. See you later! And down he walks the road browsing. What the hell? You got MarkyJoe! These ambush bombs just don't do it for me.